Hey guys, it's KJ from the Scariest Movie Ever channel on YouTube. So over the last few months I've noticed a few stories coming out that seem to be normalizing the idea of humans essentially feeding off of other humans. And this comes to us in many forms. We always have lived in a very cannibalistic culture. But over the last few years, this is really intensifying. We're seeing degrading and debaucherous behaviors becoming normalized. What you're looking at is called a Sephiroth map. This follows the evolution of an occult belief system that relishes in human sacrifice and war, and it uses banking as a tool for global domination. So before we explore this map a little bit more, I want to show you a clip. And this will kind of put into perspective what I'm talking about. Check this out.
On the Health Watch, could the secret to eternal youth be found in blood transfusions from young people? Health reporter Stephanie Stahl has more on a controversial new treatment that's being tested.
Transfusions with young blood from teenagers. Some claim it can reverse the aging process. It's being tested in patients over the age of 35 as part of a clinical trial called Ambrosia, where people paid $8,000 to get the rich growth factors found in blood plasma platelets.
It's pretty much people from most states, people from overseas, from Europe and Australia.
Results of the trial have not been published, but Dr. Jesse Karzeman, who plans to open a business selling young blood, says patients who've had it say they feel amazing. And he says he's seen evidence of reversing the aging process in rats.
Their brains are younger, hearts, their hair, if it was gray, it turns dark again.
There's also been encouraging Alzheimer's research using young blood at Stanford.
We found that it was safe and feasible to administer infusions of young plasma weekly.
Dr. Sharon Shaw is a researcher who says they've seen evidence of improvement in functional ability.
It's all very exciting that there can be components in blood that could be healing.
Platelet-rich plasma, or PRP, treatments using a patient's own blood have been in demand as trendy vampire facials to fight wrinkles and as joint and tissue treatments to accelerate healing. And it's been tested to regrow hair.
We can actually use your own blood to stimulate the body.
The study hasn't concluded, but seeing enough short-term results, the researcher is optimistic.
It looks very positive.
But experts agree there is still more research that needs to be done.
There's still a lot of unknowns and a lot of factors that we don't know when we're actually getting another person's growth factors and nutrient injected in us.
While blood transfusions are considered safe for people who need them, side effects can include hives, lung injury, or potentially deadly infections. Stephanie Stahl, CBS 3 Eyewitness News.
So as you can see, we're living in a cannibalistic culture, and as I was saying, this is manifesting more and more. It's becoming normalized now. And ever since biblical times, we've been told about the power of the blood. So here we are looking at a Sephiroth map. It's not an interpretation of the Kabbalistic tree of life, but it is designed to reference the key ideas contained within the tree of life. It's no mistake either, because this is connected to ancient Hebrew mysticism, or Jewish mysticism. As we scroll down here, you can get a better look here, and you see how all this works together. We'll start off right here at the top. The supreme deity of this cult goes by many names: Baal, Moloch, Lucifer. One could argue that there are technically two factions among these occultists, the Satanists and the Luciferians. But once the flesh starts flying, only a psychopath would appreciate this subtle difference. The constant theme through this deity's many incarnations is its insatiable appetite and demand for blood sacrifice. Animals and humans alike serve as offerings to Baal, but the highest form of offering is that of a child. Ritualistic cannibalism is the holy grail of these dark zealots. All elite secret societies are interlinked as shown on this map, even though they may at times throughout history have been at odds and even at war with one another. It's been a cutthroat power struggle, fought tooth and nail between these groups. Cannibals seem to have a propensity for cannibalizing each other, along with their innocent victims, yet somehow, despite their malicious infighting, they manage to be significantly more organized and far more deadly than any general peace-loving population. Whenever a certain society's reputation becomes too tarnished and the populace starts waking up en masse to the depths of their accustomed depravity, They simply go underground for a period of time only to re-emerge with a new name or a new face. Freemasons consider themselves to be heirs of the Templars, who were burnt on stakes in 1307 amongst accusations of Baphomet worship. The Illuminati was founded by a Jesuit professor of canon law, shortly after the Jesuit suppression, the result of a long run of papal assassinations and sedition conspiracies against the European monarchies. The core values of these secret societies are elitism and deception. Even the majority of the members are kept in the dark as to the secrets of the highest order. As Albert Pike revealed, Lucifer is God to these people, but only advanced degree Masons are told who the deity of their fraternity truly is. Good men caught up in these organizations, of which there are many in all cases, will find themselves aligned with the lower tiers of the hierarchy, while evil will be encouraged to gravitate towards the top. If all three Abrahamic religions have been pagan at their core since their very beginning, who is the majority of the world's population really worshiping? Who are we feeding our energy to? Humanity has been treacherously betrayed by its leaders of both church and state for centuries, but the extent of their crimes is yet to be fully assimilated. So this is the power structure that humanity is up against. The force behind the cult of evil is evidently anti-humanity, and likely non-human itself. Psychopathy derives from the reptilian brain. Satan, Pindar, Lord Akron are all names that refer to a leader who remains hidden behind a veil. And we see evidence of this cannibalistic culture all around us in a lot of different and interesting and unique ways, sometimes very straightforward. This story just happened a few months ago. Buenos Aires culture minister eats, quote, body of Christ cake with stigmata frosting. Here's another example. You may have heard about this one. A police investigating cannibal chef art performance in Latvia. The show explored what would happen to humanity if global food stocks ran out, suggesting that people will resort to cannibalism or face extinction. So he actually had assistants that signed up for this performance. He cut chunks of meat from each of their backs without any anesthesia, and he fried it in a large black pan, then forcing each one of the assistants to stand by, dropping the fried flesh right into their mouths. Here's another example of that programming from a few years back. James Tomlinson, British chef, to offer human flesh-tasting hamburgers. So this story is just from a few months ago, and it's all about a new trend. This is actually becoming a trend. It's called self-cannibalizing. Check this out. Sausage made from human blood and tacos filled with a man's chopped off foot. Meet the people who want to eat each other and themselves. Some people eaters are even getting their sexual kicks from meeting and eating others on dating-style cannibal sites. So here's another story. I found this on Drudge, again, just a few months ago. You gotta ask yourself, who would want to partake in something like this? Diners offered 2-course meal topped off by dissection of a human corpse. So people stuffed their faces with a 2-course meal before cutting open a very realistic model of the human body. Now truly, who in their right mind would want to partake in something like this? This is why I'm telling you that cannibalistic culture is manifesting before our very eyes. So we're living in a time of fake news, and news has been fake for a really long time. It's obviously gotten a lot worse. We're seeing dinosaur media fall apart, right? We are the new media. The people are the new media. But mainstream media has always been an incredibly powerful propaganda tool. So it should come as no surprise that we find CNN pushing this propaganda. CNN host eats human brain. This CNN host actually ate parts of a human brain on his new show called Believer when he was hanging out with some cannibals in India known as the Agoras. So here on my channel we talk a lot about predictive programming. Of course we saw that clip at the beginning of this video about how that company is capitalizing on the power of the blood. So here's a story that came out just back in September of this year, just a few months ago. Young blood, an elixir that prevents age-related diseases, study reveals. Blood factors obtained from young beings can improve late-life health in animals and put an end to age-related diseases. Now this is just one example of that predictive programming. of us being imprinted with this idea. And now, just a few months later after this story, we find this company that's out there, and they're promoting heavily the idea of blood transfusions, taking young blood and putting it into yourself. We also have stories like this. Real-life vampires exist, and researchers are studying them.
It is called the vampire facial, also known as the blood facial. Kim Kardashian made it famous on her reality show, but would you do it?
Tonight, a look at the extreme measures that some women are going to get younger, smoother looking skin. Oh boy.
Do you think my skin looks better? No. Look.
Ew. What is that?
I did a blood facial. Wait, look, there's more.
Ew!
Oh my god!
Kim Kardashian did it, and so can you. The vampire facial, also known as the blood facial. The idea is to draw your own blood, separate the protein-rich plasma, then re-inject it in the areas that need plumping, making them look rejuvenated.
That's gross.
I wouldn't do that. It doesn't look good.
We are originally from Romania, what is very famous for being Dracula place. So, yeah, we don't like it.
Women are desperate. We'll do anything to look younger.
Dr. Amia Prasad, a cosmetic surgeon on the Upper East Side, explains the procedure.
Here's another example. Again, this all shows an uptick of the stories about, quote, vampires, or real-life vampires. Healthy vampires emerge from graves in medieval Polish cemetery. And here's another one. Vampire grave found in Bulgaria. A skeleton that literally had a stake driven through its chest had been unearthed in Bulgaria in what archaeologists were terming a, quote, vampire grave. All of this also reminds me of some strange crime stories I've seen pop up over the last few years. Here's one. Police say stripper from Tampa thought his partner was a cannibal, so he stabbed him in both of his eyes. Here's another one. Schoolgirls wanted to murder their classmates and drink their blood. The pair thought they would go to hell so they could be with Satan. And keep in mind, these children were 11 and 12 years old. And here's another one that just happened a few months ago. Satanic sacrifice. Siblings gouge out mother's eyes and bathe in her blood to invoke the devil. Now here's another one that's very interesting, and this ties us back into the so-called elite. But the British royals used to be cannibals dining on human flesh. And now we're tying that back into the vampires. Prince Charles, heir to Dracula's bloodline. The Romanian tourist board is to use links between the British royal family and Count Dracula to lure in UK tourists. But they really did find that Prince Charles' bloodline is related to Vlad the Impaler. Now here's just another way that our culture cannibalizes itself, that we're cannibalizing each other. A Toronto dermatologist says a Swiss company's use of aborted fetal cells in skin cream is, quote, a bit weird. More importantly, after analyzing their data, they couldn't find any reason to justify it. Yet another example is how fetal tissue is actually used in many of our vaccines. I often say we're living at a time where the veil is lifting, and I believe it. I see evidence of that all around me. It's something I've been showing to people for years here on my YouTube channel. So keeping that in mind, over the last few years, many of us have learned about this weird subculture taking place in Hollywood, in politics, spirit cooking dinners, these rituals that mock cannibalism. All of this centered around a very popular witch with the Hollywood elite and also with the political elite, and that's Marina Abramovic. Culture cannibalizing, a cannibalistic culture. We are eating ourselves. So right around the time all of this stuff was being revealed with spirit cooking and these weird cannibal parties that many Hollywood elite were attending, Katy Perry, of course, she came out with a video for a song called Bon Appetit. This is an example to me of how the beast system works, trying to cover this kind of thing up, trying to make fun of it, mock it, hidden in plain sight, if you will. Also around the same time, we have this TV series come out on Netflix called The Santa Clarita Diet, about modern-day cannibals. Again, this is how I see the beast system protecting itself. Now when somebody brings up this subject about cannibalism or these cannibal parties or what have you, or people in politics getting involved in this, or people in Hollywood, most people are just going to roll their eyes and be like, yeah, I saw that Santa Clarita Diet show too. So at this point I could show you tons and tons of images of TV shows and movies that center around what's called paranormal romance. That's a subgenre of both romantic fiction and speculative fiction. It focuses on romantic love and includes elements beyond the range of scientific explanation, if you will, blending together themes from different fiction genres, fantasy, science fiction, and even horror. The common hallmarks are romantic relationships between humans and vampires, shapeshifters, ghosts, and other entities. Paranormal romance is a multi-million-dollar industry. This is huge. But essentially what it's doing is normalizing relationships between humans and demonic spirits, or incubus and succubus. Again, paranormal romance. This is a romance taking place between human beings and supernatural creatures. They make it look all nice and pretty in TV shows and movies, but at its very core, these are satanic beings, incubus and succubus. And this kind of mind control has a very powerful effect on young people. And check out this clip right here.
Well, there's another murder case that's making some big headlines, this time in Florida. A suspect claims she's part vampire, part werewolf. 16-year-old Jacob Hendershot's badly beaten body was found in a storm drain.
Since I was like 12, with every fiber of my being, basically everything, I know this is going to be crazy, but I believe that I'm a vampire. Part of a vampire and part of a werewolf.
Now, Pisty says she didn't drink Hendershot's blood after the murder, but claims she has drank the blood of her fiancé, co-defendant 25-year-old William Chase. 5 people, including Pisty, are charged with either murder or accessory after the fact.
So we've established that there's power in the blood, and we see evidence of that going all the way back to biblical times. And now we see this playing out in modern times. People are literally seeking young blood to put inside their own bodies. The power in the blood. So all of this is also an example of a term called revelation of the method. It's also predictive programming. And it can also be called lesser magic, because we're dealing with occultists, right? We're dealing with Luciferians. And they're normalizing all of this behavior that used to be hidden in the shadows. The occult's plans are disguised from our conscious awareness, but it's shown to us in esoteric and occult messages. So in that sense, humanity is being pre-programmed to accept what's about to unfold. We become a part of the plan. So here's another example of predictive programming, of revelation of the method, and all this is playing out before our very eyes globally right now. These are photos from a 1972 Rothschild Illuminati party. Now flash forward many years later, and this is all mainstream. Here's a story that just came out, an inside peek at the erotic New Year's Eve, quote, Illuminati ball. And as you can see here, these are just some of the images from this so-called Illuminati ball. So what was once done in the shadows, what was once done in secret, is now become mainstream. Now we're all involved. Here's just another example of how there really is power in the blood. I wanted to share this story with you as well. Scientists just made human egg cells from human blood for the first time ever. Now here's something else I wanted to share with you. This is from the commercial for the Google Pixel 3 night sight, which is supposed to reduce flashing. I've been seeing this commercial running on television now constantly for like the last week or so. Every time I see it, I can't help but notice this arch of ball they have in the background. And the way I see things is this is just another example of how all of this stuff manifests. You may remember this story right here from just a few years ago. It's not just Times Square. Altars to Baal will be built all around the world. To me, I find it very interesting that this story also corresponds with the Satanic Temple in America. It's a group, and they've been trying to put up these statues of the Baphomet all around America as well. These are just further signs of that cannibalistic culture manifesting. And all of this brings us back to the beginning of the video. We look up at the very top of this Sephiroth map, and what do we find? We find Baal worship and cannibalism. And underneath it, all of the secret societies, the entire beast system right here before our very eyes. All of it connected through Baal worship, through sacrifice, through cannibalism. And that, my friends, concludes my video and everything I wanted to show you. So as always, I thank you for watching my video and for taking the time. I truly appreciate it. And until next time, you guys take care out there, okay? And I'll talk to you a little later.